Going to try to continue editing this video. The last stream, I didn't have the audio for the desktop being played in the background, which kind of made a lot of it useless. So in this case, I will actually just talk about what I was doing last time instead. I'm doing the concurrent stream again to Twitch and YouTube just to see how it works. I did check them this time, so hopefully everything is relatively decent. My audio tends to be low for some reason. I don't know if maybe there's some setting I can eventually figure out, but it does work, I think. So we're good. With this video, I was using the Altson adapter, which does Z mount, well, EF to Z mount. So in that case, you get aperture control and also autofocus with EF lenses on Nikon Z mount, whatever you want to call it. Nikon. But yeah, it works. I mean, it's not the best thing ever. And I noticed while editing these photos, which I have pretty much all the photos that I want to be used, and there weren't a ton. Autofocus or shutter speed or like the shake reduction, something was off. Which might have been the adapter, might have been my settings. I was using the aperture control, and shutter speeds were not the best. But yeah, at this point, what I did with the video is that I had multiple cameras, the Osmo Action GoPro, it's an action camera. Also the GoPro Hero 9, like on a mount on the side. You can see it in this little screen here on this preview. Let me pick a slightly less. it's right there. But yeah, I think we're good. Basically, I had to sync all of the audio. Also, I had a lapel microphone with this recorder from Olympus, the LSP4, and that sits in my pocket with the lapel like right here to get the best audio I can get in these conditions, which it's not always the best, but it's better than the action cameras. And besides that, I had the actual camera taking photos. So making these type of videos, there is quite a bit to it. And at this point, now that I've synced everything, which took maybe hour, 2 hours, something like that, to get it all done, and then editing the photos to a decent degree, picking the ones that I wanted, I'm at this point. At this point, I'm going to go through the footage, because I did another thing too, is I recorded like a editor's note video with the M6 Mark II, the Ninja 5. So I'll put that in here. Interesting thing about that setup is that it has multiple audio channels. But I tend to use just the audio that I push into the camera in that situation. So it's this little bit right here. Editor Scott here. Clearly there was some type of issue with Altson adapter using aperture priority, using shutter speeds. So one quick thing to do with this audio is you right click on it and let's see, where is that? I always forget. Switches normalize. Also, I set up a like control N, which is not default, to turn normalize on. Got here, clearly there was some type of issue with Altson adapter and this whole combination using aperture priority. So that makes it a little louder, which is good. But in this case, all I do is look for talking points. I look for the points where I'm taking a photo, which I need to like work on my process with that, because it's difficult to find when I'm taking photos out there in the footage afterwards. I recorded this, I think, back in May or something. So it's been sitting for quite a while. In this case, now that I have my footage all set up where you can see, if I make this invisible, that's the other camera view on the side there. But at least when I'm talking to the camera, I'll be using like the one that I was holding out. So in that case,
Hey, this is Dr. Bonsai here with another video. In this case, the Altson adapter. You can see it right there on the Z5, which allows EF lenses to be connected to the camera. So this adapter allows for autofocus.
I'm doing pauses there, which isn't great. I don't know, in some situations I'd clip these out with S on the keyboard to split. So you're splitting your clips, and I also have something called auto ripple on, which it does is it moves the clips that direction, or whichever direction you'll look at backwards. When you delete, then you don't have to manually move it. There's potential issues with it, as you might see as I'm editing, but it does help
Which
in some
allows
situations.
EF lenses to be connected to the camera.
So that was like a bad jump. We'll see. I'm gonna
to be connected to the camera.
Although I don't like the pause either.
The Z5, which allows EF lenses to.
What I'd probably do there is add some type of B-roll or something. Pretty much all of this first part, I might just like throw clips from later on in the video where I'm taking photos. So I'm gonna clip that up. And we can deal with it later.
Which allows EF lenses to be connected to the camera. So this adapter allows for autofocus, it allows for
Let's see if I can remove the so.
So this adapter, camera. This adapter allows for.
You can clip that piece. I don't generally need these other audio tracks because they're being replaced by the lapel microphone, but having them just in case, because if I do delete them, then if I need them for some reason, it would be pretty difficult to get them back in there. Usually when I in this program I save a lot because there's always potential issues, but you would have to go back to an old copy of the project and try to, yeah, it's a hassle. So
for autofocus, it allows for app.
But in these situations, I'm gonna clip it as much as I can and then just jump back with something like B-roll.
This adapter allows for autofocus, it allows for aperture control, which I think is the biggest one. Right off the bat, autofocus isn't great.
Also, I can do jump punch in, which I'm not sure if I recorded these in 4K or 1080p. There was a point in time where I was using, okay, this was 2.7, is that like 2.7K? Yeah. Okay, I was doing 2.7K video for the action cameras, which is good, but the GoPro does it at 60 frames a second. Oh, I was probably using the max lens mod. That's probably why. Yeah, makes sense. And that only has 2.7K max.
For autofocus, it allows for aperture control, which I think is the biggest one. Right off the bat, autofocus isn't great. I wasn't expecting much for a $59 adapter, at least what I paid. You know, there are other ones out there. Fringer one apparently is the best one to get, but that's 300 bucks.
I'd probably do some type of like overlay from Amazon or something for that adapter. So in this case, I could put a note with M on the keyboard. Only potential issue with those is that they don't always move around where they're supposed to. So it might get an offset.
$59 versus $300, big difference. And try it out today, see how it works. It's not really raining, but it's kind of sprinkling, and this adapter combo, I'm sure there's no weather resistance, so.
Definitely not. It's just metal on the back.
Easy enough just to bring the umbrella.
So in that case, I might not use this. We'll see.
Adapter combo, I'm sure there is no weather resistance, so.
And all of this.
That's how it goes.
Let's see what I was doing here. Let's take that down.
Let's try it out. I'm using the 50mm f1.8 STM, which...
So I just took a photo there. What I'm going to do here is add... Oh, I've got a track ready to go. So in this top track, I'm going to be putting pictures that I took. With the photos, I try, at least now, my current process, I try to include all of the photos that I took so that I can more easily sync them up. But the thing is, I'm not going to use all of them. So at least this time, I renamed certain photos that are better than other ones in this group. And these even are, that's not all of the photos, it's just some of them. But basically every different photo I included in the thing. And then for the specific photos that I potentially want to include in the video, I renamed them with ACDC. Has a nice feature of like ability to rename files. You can pick them. You go F2 on the keyboard. It's probably in the menus too as well. Yeah. It gives you options to pull EXIF information into the file name. So I don't have to go back and like figure out what the EXIF for each picture is. And at that point, you can like copy that text from the file name into the video editor, overlay of text, which we'll get to.
Works okay, I think.
At this point, I can look at that picture and say it's probably this one. But before I drag it into the thing, I have to turn off that auto ripple, which is Control L on the keyboard. Otherwise, it's going to move stuff around real weird, which I can at least show you what would happen. So I'm going to drag this on here when auto ripple is on. You can see how it moved these clips behind it, the other direction. Don't want that. So I'm going to undo that, turn it off. It's a nice feature, but it also has issues. You could see when I undid something, all of these little thumbnails refresh on the editor. That's super irritating. Don't see the point.
Using the 50mm f1.8 STM, which... Okay, I think something like this is probably your best bet. Just to get decent stuff out of it. I mean, in these conditions...
It's probably this one.
I mean, in these conditions...
And I can actually hear the shutter sound go off. Save that.
Even in bright areas, it had some issues. I mean, in these conditions...
Well, a lot of this text is not, speaking is not great. So I'm not sure what I'm going to use there. But at the very least, we've got something, and then I can delete this and move all the clips back. I just turned on auto ripple for a second. Turn it off. I can come back to that. At the very least, I want to just place the pictures.
I'm just going to be focused and everything else.
That's another photo. The Z5 has a nice shutter sound to it. Turn off autofocus. That's nice.
Focus and everything else.
So, pretty much
I can feel
just go through this, do that. You know, it's not especially exciting.
the water droplets. This frigging wind. So obnoxious.
Using the umbrella was not the easiest thing, trying to take photos at the same time.
Frigging wind. I got. Holy shit.
Those are the type of things I don't include in my videos, but maybe I should. I don't know.
Holy shit.
Whoops. Video just got flagged.
So I had to hit my. Holy shit.
We can keep it for now. Delete that. Let's put a note.
Of course, I had to hit my.
That umbrella is definitely. It's got these panels where where the wind should like flow through them, but in some situations it's like a huge wind sail.
Thing is too high. Best spot. At some point,
I'm talking to myself all the time.
Okay. I can't use this because it's Echo City.
What I mean by that is that little overhang. You try to talk in there, and it's just terrible. Whoa.
Well.
My first attempt at trying to make it work didn't work so well. You can see there. Microfiber cloth. I don't know if I could potentially use stuff like this in the videos. Might be more interesting somehow, but actually making it work is the challenge.
Already got some water on the lens. Into there.
I try to record the entire time with these action cameras. When you're doing it at 4K, it adds up maybe like 30 gigabytes of project potentially, which is quite a bit. But many situations, it's nice. Though I did do a stint of 1080p stuff, might go back to that because I don't generally need to punch in too much from what I can remember. And I don't think action camera 1080p footage is really that much worse than the 4K because they're tiny sensors. There's not a ton of information anyways. So in this case, I was moving to this other area. Probably did not do much. Oh, didn't take a photo.
All right.
Nope. Get rid of all of that. Now save it. Should actually just save a new one. So here I'm looking for photos taken. Actually, I think I was tired of the umbrella. Using it like a, or putting it in there like one of those swords that. I think I attached it to the side panel. Okay, so all that footage pretty much not needed or useful.
Try without the umbrella for now. This is Altson EF.
It's like I'm kind of yelling.
This is Altson EF NZ adapter. I think with this lens that I have, it's the best option.
It's a 51.8.
Out of the lenses I have, this one is probably the best functioning.
In that case, I repeated myself.
I think with this lens,
probably because I knew instinctively that I was pausing too much.
NZ adapter. Out of the lenses I have, this one.
Look at the other view. I'm actually talking to the camera, which makes sense.
This is Altson EF NZ adapter. Out of the lenses I have, this one is probably the best functioning. No surprise really, because it's the most electronic of the group. I just have a few of the older film era full frame lenses. Not great, but I don't really want to spend.
So this piece right here.
Not great, but
it's not super useful. Let's get rid of it.
Group. I just have the most electronic of the group.
What you can also do here is on the keyboard, L key in this program. It will speed up your playback.
Just have a few of the older film era full frame lenses. I don't really want to spend $300 on an adapter that I won't get the most use out of. Although I have to say that EF lenses I think are the best, most feature-proof of the old DSLR, SLR area lenses.
Which is true, but I'm actually thinking about getting rid of my EF lenses.
Although I have to say the most electronic of the group. I just have a few of the older film era group. I just have functioning. No surprise really, because it's the most electronic.
I think at this point I'm just going to clip these pieces out. And then go back and potentially use it, not use it, put B-roll over it, who knows.
I don't really want to spend $300 on an adapter that I won't get the most use out of. Although I have to say that EF lenses I think are the best, most future-proof.
So the word most is probably useful there, but
EF lenses I think are the best.
I just take best out.
Lenses I think are the most future-proof.
In these situations, I kind of revise what I'm saying. So when you're out there doing the thing, you're talking, you aren't necessarily thinking properly. In those situations, you've got the option to edit in post of like adjust what you said.
I have to say that EF lenses I think of.
What is this?
I won't get the most use out of. Adapter that I won't get the most use out of.
The pauses are not great, but at least for now I'm going to clip. I can always bring stuff back in if I need to.
On an adapter that I won't get the most use out of. Although I have to say that EF lenses, I think, are the most future-proof of the old DSLR, SLR era lenses.
Era. Can't do anything about that. I was taking a photo. Probably one of these. Let me turn off the... What was that called again? Auto ripple.
Would have noticed with the Z5 and probably all of the Nikon cameras.
You can tell I easily, or you can tell from the audio that I messed up that whole thing. But delete that.
Would have noticed with the Z5 and probably all of the Nikon Z mount cameras is that when you adjust the aperture in autofocus mode, of course, larger apertures will be nice, but it goes down to f5.6. The actual aperture changes and gets smaller, even when it's just in live view mode, as far as I can tell.
I'm zoning out. Let's see.
Once it hits 5.6, it's the actual aperture change.
Oh, yeah. With the Z cameras, as far as I've noticed, when you go into, you're in autofocus, and you want to adjust your aperture, so f1.8, I don't know if it's visible. Actually, I can switch my view as long as I remember to go back. So you got the aperture, the hole in there. Put it closer to my face. And then if I adjust, see how it goes to a certain size, but it doesn't get any smaller? At that point, it stops at f5.6 and stays at that size. So it's still potentially limiting the camera's autofocus abilities because it's getting less light, but it's making the preview similar to what it will be like in the resulting photo. And I understand why they're doing that. It makes sense, but it potentially gives you some issues with that, like autofocus speed. Just an interesting way that it works. Because, of course, your live view has to mimic what the photo is going to look like. And if you have the setting at 5.6 or f8, but then the camera's trying to use f1.8 to focus, you're going to have a potential issue with how it looks in the preview and how your resulting photo is. Which I think Canon does something different. I'd have to pull out a camera, but that's a potential issue with the Nikon cameras. So what I just did, and you didn't see, is that I made a copy of text. So you copy paste and then get this pop-up saying if you want to do a copy or a reference. So doing a copy, that way you can change the text and not have it change the other text. Anyways. Just get rid of that. There we go. Okay. When I do a undo, it refreshes all these thumbnails, as I mentioned. Super irritating.
Once it hits 5.6, it stops getting small. My speculation, at least, is that it's doing that to simulate the look of it, but the problem is that it hurts autofocus functionality. Because you have a f1.8 lens, you should be using f1.8 to focus. Maybe there's some technical reason.
As far as I understand it, you want to use the larger aperture There might be reasons not to, I don't know, but
it's hard to say. But reason.
I got another photo. Not sure which. Might be this one. Whoops. Oh, I should not have undid.
Actually, in outdoor conditions, so
I'm gonna close this program. Save a few resources.
Actually, in outdoor conditions so far, this thing is working okay with autofocus. Of course, the aperture seems to be just fine.
It's lagging. Should be good. Don't need that. Let's go like that.
Actually, in outdoor conditions so far, this thing is working okay with autofocus. Of course, the aperture seems to be just fine.
Yeah, definitely the aperture control is the main benefit of this adapter thingamajig.
Try something closer.
That one is easy to figure out. I am doing quite a few key combinations. Just makes things faster in general. Definitely if you get into editing, you want to learn your key combinations for the program that you use. In this case, should be good.
It is struggling to even get focus right here. It's kind of dark in here.
What I could do is take this, maybe delete some of that. Normally I'd do this later on, but give you an idea. That way, when I'm showing the photos, I can still talk, but I'm not just like talking to camera.
Going to even get focus.
You won't see that because it'd be black.
Struggling to even get focus right here. It's kind of
get the idea. Just helps the flow.
even with this combination. Outdoors, it struggles a little bit, but
Get rid of that.
probably the best option for something like this.
I already said that. Let's see. We've got another one. Didn't even hear the shutter sound. That should be good though. Always keep saving in this program. You never know when it'll crash. Just check my stuff. We're all good.
For what I paid, I think it's a decent option just because you get aperture
control. Autofocus, I feel like, is a bonus at this price point, and it works, at least on this lens, but I did notice with my other lenses, with old focusing systems, that they do work a lot better on the EFM cameras compared to this with the whole setup of weird combination.
Yep. Makes sense. You can see I'm not even close to getting anywhere with this, but just keep at it. You'll get something. We're doing a vertical, which is easy to spot. Oh, I've been dragging in photos that I didn't want to use. Oops. Should I put it in there? I'm not sure. So it's probably blurry. Let's not. I can go back later and yeah, I think that's out of focus. Okay, let's delete that. Delete. Oh, that looks weird. Turn off the ripple. Delete that. In this case, I'm going to make a new file or new project just in case. What I'm doing here is doing Control D, or I press D on the keyboard. It switches the control. You can see on the bottom here this little panel. Got these different types of controls to do different things in the editor. So in this case, I use this one to pick multiple things. And besides that, I don't tend to use the other ones like the zoom in and whatever this is. Envelope. I do use the envelope tools, but only in specific situations. And then Control D goes back to the normal standard cursor.
What I paid, I think it's a decent option just because you get aperture control. Autofocus, I feel like, is a bonus at this price point, and it works, at least on this lens, but I did notice with my other lenses, with old focusing systems, that they do work a lot better on the EFM cameras.
It's good. Another vertical. Is that the one that I just... I'm not sure. I don't know what's happening.
Fine, whatever. Okay. In some instances,
What I probably did there was I put the action camera on the photo camera, which is not the best view, but we can use the other one.
some instances it seems to focus okay.
Others, not so much. Let's switch into video mode here.
I don't know if I have those in here. Let me save. We'll go back here. Be inside here. You can sort by type. Not seeing any videos. It's possible that I didn't copy them. Because the Z5, you can push videos to one card or the other card, but it doesn't go to both of them. So I might have had it set to the other card and I never copied them. Oh well.
It seems to
focus okay. Others, not so much. Let's switch into video mode here.
Just get rid of that.
going on. Not too bad. There you go. Of course, this has sensor stabilization, which is...
Yeah, that's weird. Let me look around here. Nah. Not seeing it. Nope. No videos.
pretty nice. Get an idea of what that looks like. At least outdoors, it seems usable. I'm using f1.8, which I'm sure helps the situation. At least in video mode, it's not going to do anything weird with the aperture. Stop that. I mentioned in my first Z5 video that I'm not super...
So all that is not usable?
I mentioned
in the first Z5 video that I'm not super interested in getting into the FTZ adapter.
Oh, it's lagging for some reason. Let's see.
super interested
In getting into the FTZ adapter, older f-mount lenses. I didn't like how their aperture was set up. It's at least most of the lenses. There are some relatively new f-mount lenses that have a different aperture setup, but with the older ones, it has a lever in the back, similar to Pentax, where I noticed, at least, especially on some of the third-party lenses, but even maybe some of the older first-party ones, is that you might have some variation with the aperture because it's using some mechanical stuff, at least more mechanical stuff than internalized aperture setup. And it's just not something I'm going to get into. It has that little extra stuff on the back. Just with older
DSLR stuff, I would prefer just sticking with EF mount, which is why I picked this thing up.
Yeah. Although my current thoughts are slightly different than they were back then.
At least at the price I paid. I have tested out the 4. I don't remember the focal lengths and all.
Actually talked quite a bit more than I thought. We'll see. Maybe later on I'll have more photos to paste over, stuff like that.
Price I paid.
getting aperture, which it seems.
Get rid of that.
I have tested out the 4
EF lenses that I have. Older ones, there's a 100-300 f4.5 to 5.6, I think. Also the older kit lens, and I think that's 28 to 90, maybe.
Yep.
I don't remember the focal lengths and all that.
I should just split this, get rid of some empty space.
Maybe. I don't remember the focal lengths and all
that for my other EF lenses, but I did test them out, and all the apertures seem to work fine with this adapter, which I think is the main thing, because it would be nice if autofocus were really good, but for what I paid, at least, it's not a huge deal, because at least I can connect them to this camera and get manual focus plus aperture control. And aperture control is the main thing that you need a lot in photography, so at least that is good enough for me.
Although with this specific lens, the focus is electronic, so if that doesn't work, you're screwed. But as long as you can adjust things, it's all good.
I don't think I can justify
$300, assuming the other one is a lot better in autofocus.
Yeah.
It might be, it might not be.
Also, sometimes your priorities or interest preferences shift. So in this case, I'm going to keep this adapter, but probably not going to get too much into EF lenses.
Hard to say. It might be, it might not be. Assuming the other one is a lot better in autofocus. However, this combination
outdoors, the 50-1.8 STM and the Z5 does work. I did look at the Altson website. I have the 1.31, I believe, firmware on there, which is the most recent. No updates since 2020. I really don't expect them to do much else, but hopefully they do continue to update it. Also the Fringer one.
Not likely.
2020. Although a few months newer than the latest update for this one.
Actually, I could check. Maybe later.
There are a bunch of other adapters.
Filtrax has one, I think, Comlight, something like that, and a few other ones. But you're just not going to get perfect function.
Some useless words here.
But
you...
And a few other ones. Just not going to get perfect functionality out of something like this. It's more of a band-aid, which sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good, or sometimes it does what you need.
True.
don't know what I'm talking about.
Also true. Okay, photo time. That was a lot of talking. One thing I don't like about the change they made to Vegas is that it's got this like little scroll thing, which it allows you to split up a piece of video on that Explorer view thing, but it makes no sense, or extremely very small amount of sense for single photos. It just slows things down. Anyways, let me turn off my auto ripple. Put this in here. Save it.
You know what? Outdoors, so far it's working okay. It struggles a little bit here and there, depending on what I'm trying to focus on.
After looking at the photos, I would have to disagree a little bit there, which I can make a note. Probably still include it, maybe. We'll see. But I will at least put a textual note. Ellipsis. Let me make sure, yeah, we're all good.
Not sure why I took double frames there. It looks like the stabilizer is working with this adapter, which is definitely good.
Working and working properly, who knows?
But I think I can use this combination sometimes with autofocus. This bird is like...
These edits go in stages. And I gotta do passes. So the first pass was getting the clips in there, and then syncing audio was the second pass. And now I'm gonna do all this, as you've seen, just going through, getting rid of stuff, putting pictures on, and then the next pass will be like revising that, getting it set up, and then there's another pass, and just keeps going. Which these specific videos get like pretty bad views, so, and there are also ones that take a long time. I like what I'm doing there. I like going out. I like taking photos, but making them successful is another thing. I don't know how to do that.
Bird is like, why is this dude...
I'm like a caveman and I just smash. Maybe smashing will eventually turn into something, but I'm not sure.
Bird is like, why is this dude following me? What are you looking for?
Okay. There's a little bird. We kept walking through the thing, which I will potentially keep that.
Sun here.
I think it's right there.
Yeah.
Maybe
Just
not.
let me pass. There you go.
I don't even see it. Somewhere around here. Well, I'm gonna take a piece of that and then potentially use it later. Put this picture here, maybe.
There you go.
right of way for birds. So you can see the very different look when it's on the camera. So I had the action camera right here. You don't see a ton. That was the Osmo action. If I go back to the other view, we can use that instead. In this case, there's having the two views, even it makes the video harder to edit because there's more to at least deal with in general. Go like this. Whoops. That auto ripple is good and bad. Save it. Pull this over. Yeah.
Not too bad.
Oh, it's actually down here. Get rid of that. Pull that over. Save it.
Straight normal autofocus works.
Make sure yeah, looks like it's good.
Normal autofocus. Straight normal autofocus works.
Oh, the mail is here.
It does pull up the low light functionality more often. So straight normal autofocus works. It does pull up the low light functionality more often. If we go into the eye menu, switch it to Pinpoint. Go into eye menu, switch it to Pinpoint Autofocus. That also works. You can tell it's contrast based where it jumps back and forth. But it is a little easier sometimes to select subjects. And it is very much struggling to work. There we go. So that's a questionable one. Best bet would be probably single point regular. Also have the wide. What is this? I mean, that would be even easier. Let's see. Yeah, I can't even tell what I want. There we go. That works. Wide area. Extra wide area. Whoa. That would not have been fun. Oh, this is not straight. Okay. Cool. Extra wide. Let's see if it picks these up. Yeah. It does work. This is not funny.
All right, that was, I know I took a photo there. It's kind of trying to take a break. So at the very least, drop that photo in. This is actually one of the better photos. Which, I mean, if you consider that a good photo, which the idea of it pisses me off, but the actual photo I like. I'm guessing whoever did this probably had it in their back pocket or something and it fell out.
Funny.
Anyways. Okay.
I was struggling.
Not sure how much longer I'm going to do this.
So straight normal autofocus works. It does pull up the low light functionality more often.
Yeah, that's a weird thing with this camera. They included a low light focusing mode, which I don't know exactly what that means or how it works in practice, but it at least improves the situation in some settings. But it shows up at weird times. Let me see if I can find it in here. I'll switch my view. Whoops. Don't want that. Of course it jumped out. There's a low light AF mode. And then even in bright conditions it shows up. It doesn't make sense. But at the very least it's in there, and it also can help the situation. Okay.
It does pull up the low light functionality more often.
So in that case, I might want to get a B-roll or something showing it happen, which we can make a note with M. Something like that.
Focus works.
Although I should delete this. Take this, move it over. Turn on my auto ripple. Drag it over. Turn it off. Which I don't need to turn off, but it...
If we go into the I menu, switch it to
Pinpoint. Go into iMenu, switch it to Pinpoint Autofocus. That also works.
The Pinpoint Autofocus is a different type. It's contrast based, as far as I understand it. So it makes sense it wouldn't use anything else.
If we go into the I menu,
let's get rid of that. In this case, I'd probably do more B-roll, but stacking that B-roll means more work. Although I need to be more focused on like value in these videos.
if we go in,
Because I guess just watching me take photos is not exciting. That's just how it is.
if we go into the I menu, switch it to
Pinpoint AF. Save it.
menu, switch it to Pinpoint.
What?
If we go into iMenu, switch it to Pinpoint Autofocus. That also works. You can tell it's contrast based.
Oh, I did say that. Huh. Go figure. See, that was one of the issues with the little notes here. When I deleted with the auto ripple on, it moved it. Get rid of that. Whoops. Then we can move it over. Yeah. There's a lot more. I'm going to cut it out here, though. Take a break. Which I've only been doing this for an hour, but it feels like when you're sitting there, you know, doing stuff, it feels like more than it should sometimes. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this stream. Found it interesting looking at the video editing stuff. See, it can be monotonous, it can be long, it can be fun sometimes too, but I enjoy it for the most part. Although I like doing the stuff, going out and everything else more so than the editing by far. Yeah. Scarf Bonsai. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.